Thursdays around here are a little weird as far as working hours. Thursdays is when we have the Old Farts, that's spelled Phartz, the Old Farts lunch at 11:30. We usually get there about 11:15 and spend an hour and a half. Just a bunch of us old guys who work on and love British motorcycles. Usually between 4 and 8 people show up, and we have a nice lunch and talk about things, whatever pops up. So that's 11:30. I have to leave here about 11 o'clock to get there at 11:15. And I get up around 6 or 7, give or take, and a cup of coffee, etc., 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 and find myself with maybe a couple of hours. For example, right now it is 8:45. 8:45, and I'm bored. And I don't have to leave for an hour and I don't know what all. Anyway, so I thought I'd come out here and just start a few preliminary setups on this Norton. I've got the side cover off and I've got the seat off, and I'm going to pull that battery out and see if this larger battery that I bought for it will fit. This is the same battery I used on my Norton when I put the electric starter in, so I'm hoping it'll go in there nicely. It's a nice big heavy hard cranking battery. And see, the battery box on these Commandos is pretty darn big. So mine fit on my bike. I'm hoping it'll fit on this bike. Gives you the cranking power you need. And then I've got to find a place to mount the relay. And I'm thinking, well, I usually made a bracket down here. That's occupied by this Podtronics rectifier regulator, which I also mount down there on bikes. So that place is taken. So I'm thinking I might try to mount the relay up here in this area where the 1975 Norton mounts the starter relay. I'm going to try that and see how that goes. So I'm fitting and fondling, getting ready to do this. It's preliminary stuff that I'm doing. That's interesting. Because I want to leave the actual physical installation of the electric motor primary guts internals till after lunch, when Kevin may be up here with me, so he can get a chance to do one of these things. So that's where we are. I'm going to do some cleanup under here, and not bad. I mean, it's not horrible. Well, we'll see how it goes. Get some stuff done. Oh, that's cute. That's the breather off of the oil tank. I usually just close those off. Okay, it's not the breather. It's the chain oiler. So let's get some preliminary work done. Well, I've done a little cleanup in this area, tightened down some wires so they're up out of the way. Pulled the old chain oiler out. I'm going to cap that off in there. What I'll do is find an appropriate bolt about that size, cut it short, cover it with epoxy, and put it up in that hole to block that off. The chain oilers just, they're also known as the mess makers. They don't do anything any good, especially not nowadays with chain lube that you can spray on. That's far better than spraying engine oil on the chain and having it splash everywhere. The battery fits. It's in there beautifully. They actually have a little bit of extra room here. You could, well, no, you can't because it's this intake on this bike, but this is perfect. This is lovely. So I will make a bracket that'll goes from here up and over, and it bolts down here and puts pressure on the battery and holds it in place. Just simply a strap of aluminum that I'll drill a hole here for. I'll tell you something I do. You may disagree. That's fine. That's fine. I'm a big boy. When I put a battery in like this, even though I'm going to make a hole down, I will put a good strip of silicone underneath of it and a good strip of silicone behind it, drop that battery on, let it sit there, make the hole down to hold it in place. That battery's not going anywhere. And a couple of years down the road, when somebody wants to change out that battery, it's not that difficult to grab it and break it free from the silicone. So putting a battery in a bed of silicone, just a little bit safer than having it sitting in there being held down by a rubber band or whatever you have stock and vibrating around and doing stupid things. So silicone it in place, make a nice bracket. I'll show you when I make it, and it'll be there forever. I cleaned up these wires. This one will go to the positive just beautifully. This one I will extend so it comes around and comes up to the positive just beautifully. This is your power takeoff. I'll probably just leave this. It's perfectly electrically okay. Not as pretty as I would do, but it's perfectly okay. Let's get these wires out of the way, and I'll show you something interesting that I found when I took this side cover off. Somebody, when they built this bike, this is beautifully painted, by the way. When they built this bike, they took the side cover mounts off of the frame here. So they've been taken off, smoothed over, and they made this little bracket here with pins. It hooks up here to a bolt, goes straight down and under, and hooks to the back side of this bolt right here. So they moved these two pins inboard about 1.25 inches or so, and that moves the whole side cover inboard. It looks really good. Now the worry was when I saw that, will it interfere with the battery? Answer, no. It actually fits in there just beautifully using the stock. No, you know what? They may have extended this. I think they might have extended it. Okay, well, belay what I said about moving it inboard, because I think the stock holes are out here on the edge, right about here and here. So they made a whole new mount and did a beautiful job of it. So anyway, it fits in there perfectly without interfering with anything. They did remove the stock toolkit out of here, which I removed out of mine also. And because maybe that did, with it in its, that stock toolkit may have interfered with the battery. I don't remember. So anyway, it's fun. It's a huge battery, and if you have a Commando with this battery box, this one fits in there beautifully and gives you lots and lots of amp hours. I mean, that's 18 amp hours. I think the stock ones are like 9 or 10 or 12. Anyway, that's where we are. I've made a little bit of progress. All right, so it's a few minutes later. It's about, not quite 9:30. I looked around for a place to put the starter relay, and I'm still going to go with this up here by the where the 75 Norton starter relay was mounted. I've got it clamped up in here. It clears the side cover just beautifully. There's no conflicts in there. And this way it's, excuse me, protected from casual tools. Don't forget that these contacts on the bottom of that relay, one of them is live. It goes straight to the battery. It's not fused, it's live. And if you get a screwdriver in here, you can generate sparks. And sparks are bad. So having it up here away from everything, and I'm going to insulate the heck out of these terminals. I put rubber over them and silicone them so you can't accidentally touch them. But still, I like it up here where it's protected. That's a good place for it. Okay? So that's what I'm going to do. Right now, I think I'll go ahead and make the hold down for this battery, and then see how much more time I have before I have to go to lunch. All right, I've hit an interesting stopping point. When I look at the cables that came with the kit, beautiful quality. Here they are, a short one and a long one. The short one would normally go from the negative contact, the hot, to the relay. And it would be banjo tight and actually shy by about 1/4 inch unless I do something silly. And I don't like that. That just bothers me. Second, the long one that goes from the other side of the relay and down to the starter feels like if it's down here, roughly where the contact is on the starter up to here, it's about 3 inches shy. So with the relay mounted up here, the solenoid mounted up here, which I really want to do because it's a really clean installation, I'm going to run out to Napa and see if they sell either the starter cables, cables that are longer, battery cables that are longer. I need one here about, let's say another 3 or 4 inches would make it comfortable. And this one here, another 5 or 6 inches would make it comfortable. So I'm going to make a trip up to Napa and see what they have on the shelf. And then if they don't have it on the shelf, do they have the cable and the cable ends? Because I can do that. That's no problem. And then there's the other option where I normally have been mounting this solenoid right here where the rectifier is mounted. It would be absolutely no problem at all to unbolt that and to relocate it under here where I traditionally put it, and then put the solenoid right here where I traditionally put it. That's another option. So if I have no joy at all at Napa in getting longer starter battery cables, or the materials needed to make longer starter battery cables, then I will probably relocate the rectifier to under the battery box where it sits very nicely, thank you, and put the solenoid where it's currently located, which is where I normally mount it. We'll make that decision sometime after lunch. We'll go to lunch and then I'll stop by Napa on the way home. That's where we are. I don't think I'll do much more as far as the solenoid's concerned. I might just go ahead and make the battery hold down right here. I've got time for that because it is, 10 o'clock. I've got a whole hour to bend a piece of metal. Well, it's 10:30. I'm gonna close up here, go and publish this video and go to lunch. In the meantime, I'd made this hold down. It's a piece of aluminum strap, bent over at a slight angle so that when you tighten it, it pushes in against the battery. I will put a piece of thin rubber under this area here, and I put a piece of aluminum strap under here to reinforce the battery box because that's thin metal. So reinforcement, bolt, strap up and over, a little crooked. I could maybe bend that a little straighter. I will put rubber under here to cushion it. The battery itself will be siliconed in place and the whole deal is not going anywhere. And I think I might just hang this up and paint it black just for the heck of it before I do the final fit. But as a preliminary fit, it looks pretty good. So I'm going to go process these videos into one and publish them and then go to lunch.